My name is Liam Bussell. I'm from Cobweb Pay. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer. As you can see, the title is Building Real-World Value in Uncertain Times. We're definitely in a time of uncertainty now. So, what do you do? How do you handle it? So, before I just go into it, we've got to define a few terms. What is uncertainty? So, that's a dictionary definition, but in a nutshell, it's a future time where you don't have complete information. So what you're actually doing is trying to guess what's going to happen. You're trying to gather information and come up with an idea. That's the first thing. Second thing, who the hell am I to be talking about uncertainty in crypto? So I've put my bio up there. In a nutshell, I've been a marketing guy in this space for about 10 years. 8 to 10, depending on how you count it. I've been CMO of 3 companies that have IPO'd, so I'm a little bit familiar with going from a startup to a scale-up to Series A, B, C, and then IPOing. So I understand the market. I've walked offshore, I've worked in Australia, it's all up there. You can talk to me about it later, but I have some understanding of what bull markets and bear markets look like, and I have understanding of the wrong things to do and the right things. Some of them learned by hard experience. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. Oh. There we go. So this is just an introduction of the company I'm working for and representing today. We have a booth over there, right next to Binance, Cobweb Pay. In a nutshell, what we are is a fiat on and off ramp, but we are not affiliated with an exchange. What does that mean? Well, it means if you go through a fiat exchange, fiat on ramp with Binance, you're paying between 25 and 50 basis points. So because we are not affiliated with an exchange, we are cheaper. I checked the prices last week on all the exchanges and we are the cheapest in Australia. Might have changed, but I would guarantee probably not. So, I won't talk too much about the product. I'll come back to it at the end. So, bear versus bull. What does that actually mean? How do we know when we're in a bear market or a bull market? So, defining our animals. That's a very long-winded description of a bull market and a very long-winded description of a bear market. But fundamentally, if we start turning green and it continues for 3 months, we're in a bull. So, anyone who's trading or looking at the prices, you may have seen a little bit of green the last couple of weeks. If that continues for another, say, 2 to 3 months, we're out of bear. So, fingers crossed. There's a couple of things that are going to impact the market. Obviously, everyone who knows is interested in what's going to go on with the ETFs, Bitcoin halving, regulation. Those 3 things are probably going to affect us, right? The institutions are not going to come if it's a regulatory grey space. Here's an example of the last X number of bear and bull markets based on the S&P. Largely, crypto is following a pretty similar path. So for everyone who's like, DeFi is different than TradFi, you'll find that they're pretty similar, actually. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the crypto industry and a couple of issues that we really have to face as we move forward and the market matures. As you can see, those who speak do not know. Those that know do not speak. Okay. There's a little bit of a tendency in our industry to get really into crypto. And then you're like, oh, the traditional finance market is terrible. We're doing something. We're being transparent and we're banking the unbanked. That's all. Those are all really good things, but there's some fundamental issues that you have to address. The first one I want to talk about is the founder as a messiah. Probably comes from Satoshi, right? We have this kind of infatuation with guys who found new ideas. We think they're so smart that they can see something that no one else can see. SBF, Vitalik, Justin Sun, these guys are all like super geniuses. Possibly, but do they actually understand the market better than dudes who have been in it for 25 years? Probably not. So, be honest with yourself when you read a project. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. If it's a good project, it's a good project. It should be evaluated at its own merits. Don't look at the founder and be like, he seems super smart. He's not rug pulling. Those two things do not equate. The second thing, I don't really believe in the TradFi versus DeFi. I mean, I understand there's 10% of the crypto market that is security coins, privacy coins. Those are never going to be regulated. But if you're running an exchange or an OTC desk or pretty much anything else, you're touching cash. You're holding your customers' cash. If you're holding your customers' cash, you need to be regulated. If you're not regulated, you look like FTX and you're commingling funds and sending them to Alameda. If you're holding people's money, you have a responsibility to those people. And the last one, I really hate this phrase, the adults in the room. More and more you hear it in the crypto space. It's usually people from institutions talking about regulation is coming, the adults in the room. In my experience, the people who say that actually never build anything. They're service providers. It's usually lawyers, bankers, I don't want to slag anyone off, but they always say the adults are coming, the adults are in the room now, the market is maturing. Unless they're building something, they're not really adding that much value. So, if you compare crypto to Colts, there's a few correspondences. Ultimately, just a thing to think about when you hear about a new project. Insane people are always the people who think they are sane. Average people might go, I'm a little bit crazy. If the guy is telling you that his product is the best in the world, even in the face of contrary evidence, he's probably lying to you. We also have a tendency to make products that don't actually make problems easier, they add an extra step. An example, let's tokenize a real world asset. Let's pick a building and tokenize it. Except how is that different than a REIT, a real estate trust? Actually, we've added a step of complexity that has no value in the real world, right? So if you're going to build a product, find a problem, solve it, make your product better. It's pretty simple. It's not sexy, that's why people don't like it, but that's how you actually succeed. I've heard the pitch, I'm building the blockchain Uber more than once. Why? There already is an Uber. How does blockchain make it better? If you can tell me how blockchain makes it better, I'm interested. If you're just telling me you're going to make an Uber, I'm not interested. So, it's important when you look at a project to evaluate it on its own merits and understand the sector that it's in. Red flags, not Six Flags. Okay, if you're working in a company or you want to invest in a company and you look at the team and none of them have any experience as, say, a compliance dude or a payments dude, there's probably a problem. You may be familiar with FTX. They had a philosophy of putting smart people who have no experience into do roles. Like their compliance team didn't work in compliance, their marketing team didn't work in marketing. So that's problematic because this is now going to be a regulated space. You need to understand what you're doing. If they keep losing auditors or their compliance team leave and then take the name of the company off their LinkedIn profile, that's a problem. I can tell you a couple of companies that have done that, but I won't say it publicly on stage. You can find me afterwards. Okay, so I think I've outlined the issues with the crypto industry. I've talked a little bit about bear markets. I'm going to bring it all together and land the plane. We have failed as an industry to actually police ourselves. Everyone who's been in the crypto space for a while probably knows a rug puller or a scammer or an exchange that's doing wash trading, but we don't acknowledge it. So we have kind of failed to police ourselves. So that means, unfortunately, we need regulation because, again, we're taking money off people and we have a duty of care to those people. They are our customers. We are not supposed to screw them. Also, I think this idea of like we're just waiting for the next bull market for mass adoption is not going to work. Until my mum, who's 82, can buy Bitcoin safely and doesn't have to remember a 25-word passphrase, we're never going to be mass market. People don't give a shit if it's crypto. What they want is a great experience that's safe. If it's blockchain at the back end, that's awesome. But don't sell the crypto part and make your product terrible, right? The UX UI is terrible. But that's all right. Our developers are amazing. The back end works. That's not going to get you mass market. So that's an important part. I've heard this. I've been in crypto since 2017, 2018. I've seen 2 bull markets. Every bull market, we have a conversation about the institutions are coming. The institutions are coming. I've heard it many times. Anyone who's been in the crypto space a while has heard it. I used to work for a company called OSL. I was employee number 3. They got invested in by Fidelity, right? Fidelity's in the space. They've been here a while. They don't have an ETF though. The institutions have been around for a while. NAB and a couple of the big 4 banks in Australia have stable coins. Anyone holding a NAB stable coin right now? No, so they made it, but they haven't deployed it. The reason for that is banks have a very different risk appetite than crypto companies, right? So the institutions might be coming, but they're probably only going to come when the space isn't grey anymore, when it's regulated, because they don't have the same risk profile as us. Let me give you an example. Let's talk about stable coins a little bit. 2 of the big 4 banks have stable coins. They have done the press PR piece. They've put out articles. They've talked at a lot of conferences, but they don't have a product. You can't buy the National Australia Bank stablecoin on Binance. You can't buy it on CoinSpot. You can't buy it on CoinJar. They did a couple of trade finance transactions. That's very simple, but they haven't actually deployed. Why is that? Regulatory uncertainty, risk appetite. The thing about crypto, if you're on Binance and you're trading and you're using their wallet, you're in a walled garden, same as Facebook, right? Facebook makes money off you by serving you ads. The longer you're on the platform, the more money they make. Binance makes more money the more shit you do on their platform. If you trade on the P2P, you do lots of trades, you come through, they are keeping you in their platform as long as they can. Don't assume that just because they say they're transparent and they, everything's going on with decentralized finance. They're not. They're a centralized exchange, right? So, in a bear market, don't panic. That's the first thing. It's very important when you're in the crypto space to be able to detect people doing stuff, to have the appearance of doing stuff, or people actually doing stuff that has real world value. So, I'm old, and I have been in the space a while. The article on the left from the Wall Street Journal, I did that transaction. I worked for a company called BC Group. We had PwC do some consulting for us. They wanted to get paid in crypto so they could get the PR win. So this is how the transaction worked. We opened a wallet for them. We paid them most of the bill in cash. They said, we want to take crypto. They said, what crypto should we take? We said, we can just do Bitcoin. They didn't know how to set up a wallet. We did it for them. So the transaction went, we sent them $60,000 of Bitcoin. It went into the wallet that we had the private keys for. We immediately turned it back into cash and deposited in them. But they got the PR win. Does PwC take crypto now? They don't need to. They already got the marketing, right? So that's a really good example of a company that's just saying blockchain, just to say blockchain. You can probably think of some other examples. Also important to kind of realize, there's a lawyer in the US called Marco Santori. I don't know how much he practiced anymore, but he was very, very big a couple of years ago, last bull market. He talked to me about EOS. He said, that is the best contract I've ever seen. Literally, it is selling you nothing. They are saying there's no guarantee or anything. All you're going to get is some tokens, and we don't know what the tokens are going to do. That's why they raised $4.4 billion, and when the SEC went after them, the fine was like 100, 150, right? That's a good return. Rug pull, give 5% back, keep all the rest. Okay, so I've talked about bear markets. I've talked about what to be careful about. Now I'm going to sort of bring it all together. Okay, if you are in a blockchain company in a bear market, these are the 3 things you really should think about. Treasury management. I cannot tell you how many crypto companies I know who do an ICO or an IDO and they make a shitload of money. Excuse me, I do swear a bit. They make a lot of money and then immediately the core team are flying business class to consensus and they've got suites and they're meeting everyone and, you know, they're buying a Lambo or putting a Lambo outside their office or a Ferrari. That's not ideal. You've raised money from a bunch of people. Now you should be fiscally disciplined. So if you're going to join a crypto company, the first question to ask is, if you don't make any more money from today, how long can you keep your company open? If it's 24 months, I'd go and work there. If it was 12 months, you're going to have to be aggressive somewhere. If it's 6 months, get out of there. Those guys don't know what they're doing, right? Honestly. 2, build. Actually build a product. Don't just set up your Discord or your Telegram and do collabs every week. Oh, I've got a partnership with these guys. I got a partnership with these guys, a partnership with these guys. And then you actually drill down into the partnerships and they're kind of ambiguous. They don't do that much. It's like, oh, I share my post on your Discord and you share your post on mine. Build a product. Build a product, an actual product, and just keep building it. I also think there's a tendency in this industry, we're trying to do too much all at the same time. People who are great, they do one thing and then they get really good at one thing and the lessons they learn from doing the one thing allow them to do other things. Apple, they did a computer and then they did an iPod and then they did a phone, right? Now they can do a few things. They've got billions of dollars and lots of people, but let's look in the crypto space. A company that's still around, Ledger, right? All Ledger did for like 10 years was the software that runs their hardware and online wallets. They are a software company, right? But their software is pretty good now because they've spent 10 years perfecting it. Now they do other things. So when you go and work for a company, you should understand the sector you're in. If you're doing payments or you're doing OTC or you're doing a token or an NFT, like at least understand who your competitors are. At least understand the market. Okay, I've been quite negative, and I think that that's important for my speech, but I'm not a negative person. So it's not all doom and gloom. Just do something and be good at it. Okay, if I was to look at a potential investment today, the first thing I would look at is, where did they get their seed money? Did the founders actually put their own cash in, or like friends and family? I would more likely invest in that company than the guys who have a white paper and they're about to do a $20 million ICO because they're going to get you to pay for their work. If they really believe in their product, they will burn their own cash, right? So when you look at a project, know that. Know yourself and know your sector. Don't say, I'm launching an OTC platform. No, I haven't looked at any of the other OTC platforms. I just know a lot of people who have crypto and that's how I'm going to do it. You're going to get hosed. Someone is going to be better than you. If you don't understand why they're better than you, you can't get better yourself. Also, transparency. It's really important. We talk a good game. We're transparent. It's all on the blockchain. I mean, it's not really. The Bitcoin are on the blockchain, but then you put them on Binance, and that's a centralized exchange, right? So when people say transparency or their product is about transparency, dig a little deeper. Understand if that's true. Okay, I'm going to talk about us now to land the plane. So Cloud Tech Group is based in South Melbourne, here in Melbourne. Cloud Tech X is a subsidiary that is a licensed payments company here. We're in the process of getting an AFSL. We're regulated by AUSTRAC. Ultimately, we just saw an opportunity. The opportunity is, if you send money via your bank to Singapore or money from Singapore to Australia, they settle in T+1. That means you send your money today, it'll land in your account tomorrow. There is actually no reason that this is the case. ANZ Bank knows DBS Bank. They know they're both not scams. They're not physically sending the money in an envelope. It's digital, it could be done. Banks just have shit technology. They admit this. Some of them use High Portfolio, which is a back-end accounting system. It's coded in COBOL. If you want to get it and fix it, you literally have to hire 40-plus-year-old developers because COBOL's not that popular anymore. So we just looked at it and we're like, there's an opportunity to basically do FX and payments with blockchain rails. As we add more iterations of the product, we want to make it simpler and simpler so people can just use it for payments and FX, and they don't have to be a wizard of remembering a 25 key passphrase, right? We launched in beta in July. Our official launch was token 2049, and there's some variation, but we're doing somewhere between $3.5 and $5 million of flow a day. We want to get bigger, and we're not saying we're going to take over the world. If we capture 5% of the market, that's billions of dollars. So that's our plan. We think right now we are the cheapest. We are going to get better. We're going to add a payments card, which is not unique, but we're going to offer a whole provision of services. We saw that opportunity. We built a simple product that solves a problem, right? And we're still building. We iterate, probably have a new version every month and a half. Just because you're building something doesn't mean people give a shit, right? You have to build an audience or customers or users. The number of times I've heard projects go, well, I'm going to build the blockchain Uber, and then I'm going to be as big as Uber. Do you know how many companies failed to do what Uber's doing? Quite a few, right? You can't look in hindsight and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be like the next Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg had to get 800 million users before he figured out how to monetize his platform. So he could burn a lot of cash for a long time. Most blockchain companies can't do that. Now, people talk about being first. Being first is good. Being first is good. Being best is better, right? If you're not best, being first is probably your only option. If you're not first, make your product better. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up now. So, if you only remember 3 things, if you're best, you don't have to be first. If you're first, probably keep trying to make your product the best because there's someone right behind you who's more than happy to steal your market share. Go and look at all these exchanges, the really big ones. The top 5 exchanges, let's put Binance to the top because their volumes are high, but everyone below that, they are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. But if they drop, they're done. Very few exchanges climb back up the rankings, right? If you start to go down, you're going to go down. So they have to aggressively market all the time. They don't have to be first, but they're all trying to be best. Be sure that what you're building actually solves a real problem. Blockchain Uber doesn't solve a problem. Build something that actually works, pick your problem, focus on that. Get good at that. Don't try and do 10 things at once. You won't succeed or fail based on how many partnerships you have. Is it good to get your product in front of a wider audience? Yes. But generally, if your product's really good, people will find it, right? Keep building, stay focused, be disciplined, be transparent. If you make a mistake, admit it and fix it. And then because we work in crypto, I've made one slide that encapsulates all that into a few sentences. I don't know what's happened to my spacing, but basically what it says is, it's a Bruce Lee quote, and it says, don't fear the man who knows 10,000 kicks, fear the man who knows 1 kick but has practiced 10,000 times, right? If you do one thing and you do it really well, you're much more likely to be successful than if you're trying to have seven parallel income streams and you're trying to build them all at the same time. It doesn't work. You're literally dividing your attention into 7 different pieces. How can you beat someone else who's just focused on one thing? Focus. Understand your basic metrics. I'm not going to name any names, but I know companies that cannot actually tell you how much money they're making from the life cycle of a customer. As a marketing guy, that's a red flag because I know how much it's costing to acquire a customer, but if I don't know how much money that customer's bring into the business, I could actually be burning money to acquire customers and burning myself into the ground. Know your metrics. How are you going to measure yourself? Is it based on users? Is it based on monthly active users? Don't base it on how many people on your Discord. That's a problem. From our perspective, we are building something very simple. We are building a payments app that is a fiat on and off ramp that is not affiliated to an exchange. Because we are not affiliated with an exchange, we're not paying 25 basis points to the exchange, so we're cheaper. That's it. Value proposition. It's a payments app, FX and OTC on blockchain rails. We have a P2P marketplace. So if you want to buy currencies that we don't do, like Malaysian ringgit, you can go onto the P2P marketplace, you can trade there. That's us in a nutshell. It's not revolutionary, but it's pretty good, and we're committed to building it, and we've got a strong dev team, we've got a good compliance team, we're working hard, right? The product is going to improve. We're regulated here in Australia, we're going to add more countries. That's it, it's simple, aim small, miss small. And that's me. Thanks very much, guys. Just do that little mandatory plug. Our booth is next to Binance. I'm Liam. These are my guys right here. If you have a question, feel free to come and have a chat with us. Come to the booth, sign up, download the app, KYC, win some money. Thank you very much.